In 2014, scientists sequenced the DNA of a 700-year-old mummy and found something that changed virology. A virus that modern researchers thought was only a few hundred years old had actually been infecting humans for thousands of years, hiding, mutating, waiting. But in one group of ancient humans, the virus simply disappeared from their genetic record, as if they'd escaped it. This is the story of how. We think of viruses as something you catch. You get sick. You recover. Maybe you die. End of story. But that's not how it works. Not even close. Some viruses don't leave when you recover. They stay. They bury themselves inside your DNA and sleep. For years. For centuries. For tens of thousands of years. And then something wakes them up. Let's start with the mummy. In 2014, an international team of scientists extracted DNA from a 700-year-old female mummy found in Greenland. She belonged to the Sakak culture, an ancient Arctic people who lived 4,000 years ago. The researchers were looking for information about her ancestry. What they found instead was a virus. Hepatitis B, which wasn't surprising on its own. What was surprising was the strain. It was unlike any modern hepatitis B strain on Earth. It was an extinct lineage, a version of the virus that had circulated in the Arctic for thousands of years, then vanished completely from the modern population. Think about what that means. A virus that infected people for millennia, then stopped. Not because of a vaccine, not because of medicine. The people carrying it just moved on, and the virus died with them. But this isn't just about hepatitis B in Greenland. This is about something much stranger, something hiding inside your genome right now. About 8% of your DNA is not human, it's viral. Scientists call these endogenous retroviruses. Millions of years ago, ancient viruses infected our primate ancestors and inserted their genetic material into our DNA. Normally, that would be a dead end. But sometimes, when the virus inserted itself into a sperm or egg cell, it got passed down to the next generation, and the next, and the generation after that. Eventually, these viral fragments became permanent fixtures in the genome. They're still there today, inside every cell of your body. Most of them are broken, mutated into silence, unable to do anything. But not all of them. In 2016, researchers at King's College London discovered that one of these ancient viral genes, called HERV-W, is still active. It produces a protein that can trigger inflammation in the brain. They found it in the spinal fluid of patients with multiple sclerosis, a virus that infected our ancestors 400,000 years ago, still waking up, still causing damage today. So here's the question that keeps virologists up at night. If ancient viruses can sleep inside us for hundreds of thousands of years and still wake up, what else is sleeping in there? And what happens when it wakes up? In 2023, a team at the University of Oxford published a study that examined DNA samples from ancient human remains across Europe and Asia. They found genetic traces of over 30 ancient viruses that no longer exist in modern human populations. 30 complete viral lineages that infected ancient humans and then vanished. Not eradicated by medicine, not outcompeted by modern strains, just gone, as if the entire population that carried them disappeared and took the viruses with them. The most famous example is the hepatitis B virus I mentioned earlier, but there are others. Ancient strains of herpes virus, a mysterious virus the researchers called ancestral circovirus 1 that appears in ancient DNA from 15,000 years ago and then simply stops appearing. No modern human carries it. Where did it go? The most likely answer is population replacement. Ancient groups carrying these viruses were absorbed, displaced, or died out. When the last person carrying that viral lineage died, the virus died with them. No host, no virus. That's one way to escape a sleeping virus. Be the last one standing when its host population goes extinct. But there's another possibility, and it's far more disturbing. In Siberia, researchers drilling through permafrost have revived viruses that are 30,000 years old. They thawed them in a lab. The viruses immediately became infectious again. They attacked single-celled organisms and started replicating. The scientists called one of them Mollivirus sibericum, a giant virus, 30,000 years frozen, still alive, still hungry. Now imagine that happening not in a petri dish, but in the real world. Permafrost covers 25% of the northern hemisphere. As the planet warms, that frozen ground is melting. Ancient soil, ancient animal carcasses, ancient human remains, all of it thawing for the first time in tens of thousands of years. And some of it contains viruses that haven't seen a living host since the Ice Age. This isn't science fiction. In 2016, an outbreak of anthrax in Siberia killed thousands of reindeer and sickened dozens of humans. The source? A 75-year-old reindeer carcass that had been frozen in permafrost. When the permafrost thawed, the carcass released anthrax spores into the soil and water. A bacterium from 1941, woken up by climate change. If bacteria can survive that long, viruses can too. And ancient humans lived through this cycle for thousands of years. The permafrost wasn't always frozen. During warmer periods, it would thaw. Ancient viruses would be released into the environment. Ancient humans would be exposed to pathogens that their immune systems had never encountered. But here's the part that changes everything. In 2020, researchers studying the DNA of Neanderthals and Denisovans found something unexpected. These ancient human relatives carried viral fragments that modern humans don't have. Complete sequences of ancient viruses that infected Neanderthals but never made the jump to Homo sapiens. Which means when Neanderthals went extinct roughly 40,000 years ago, they took those viruses with them. The viruses died when their host population died. But here's where it gets personal. When modern humans left Africa and encountered Neanderthals in Europe and Asia, we interbred with them. That's why people of non-African descent carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. But the viral DNA in Neanderthals didn't make the jump. It stayed in the Neanderthal genome, and when they disappeared, it disappeared with them. Which means somewhere in your ancestry, a population of ancient humans encountered a virus, a sleeping virus, and instead of catching it, they simply outlasted it. They waited. They migrated. They adapted, and the virus ran out of bodies to infect. This is called viral extinction. It's rare, but it's real. A virus can go extinct if it runs out of susceptible hosts. If a population becomes immune, or moves away, or dies faster than the virus can spread, the virus loses. No hosts, no future. Your ancestors didn't outrun viruses. They didn't outsmart them. They outlasted them. They kept moving, kept changing, kept adapting, until the viruses had nowhere left to go. And the evidence is sitting inside your DNA right now. Your genome is a graveyard of ancient viral infections that failed. Broken viral genes that got left behind when the virus died. They're fossils. Markers of battles your ancestors won without ever knowing they were fighting. The 700-year-old mummy from Greenland had a virus that no longer exists. Her population carried it for thousands of years. Then they moved, or changed, or died in a way that broke the chain, and the virus fell silent. A 30,000-year-old virus wakes up in a Siberian lab and starts replicating. Ancient permafrost is melting. Ancient pathogens are being released. And somewhere in the melting ice, there's a virus that hasn't seen a human host since the Stone Age. The next time you feel a fever coming on, remember this. Your body is the endpoint of a 300,000-year war against invisible enemies. Every virus that made it into your genome and went silent. Every ancient pathogen that infected your ancestors and failed. Every sleeping virus that woke up and found no one left to infect. You didn't beat those viruses. Your ancestors did, and they did it with nothing but migration, mutation, and a refusal to be the last host standing.